I watched a couple of videos on AI because I have such a dismissive attitude towards artificial intelligence. I thought I should educate myself a little bit. But I don't see anything I watch that changed my views at all. It's talking about intelligence and that they're going to be smarter than humans. I think the problem is right there. They're going to be smarter than humans. And what does that mean? How do we define smarter? That's one of the very big billings for artificial intelligence, is that they're going to outsmart us eventually. And actually, some say they already are. What does that mean? It seems like in the scientific context, what it's talking about is something so far from what a person of any faith would call intelligence. It's quite remarkable. As a Buddhist or a Hindu, which I've delved into quite a bit, and in Christianity too. The sign of a really smart person, of real intelligence, what we really call intelligence, is to be able to outsmart desire, not be led about by it, controlled by it, manipulated by our desires. Because it's our desires that create attachment to things, material objects that we may not need, but we want to have, and spending a good portion of our precious human life getting. People, we lust after people, and lust is very different than love. If we outsmart desire, we will not be manipulated by love. We will not be manipulated by lust and learn how to love. That's intelligence. That's really using human intelligence. And put it into some kind of context, at least in the Buddhist sense. To be intelligent is to outsmart desire, so that we're not tethered like an elephant chained to an emperor palm, and not subject to and controlled and manipulated by our desires. This is fundamental to attaining even a basic level of happiness in a spiritual context. As long as we're beneath the wheel of desire, we really haven't broken through to any true contentment and peace. When I listen to the talks by people who promote artificial intelligence, they talk about the great wonders and advancements that's taking place in that field. They seem to be coming from a completely behaviorist viewpoint. Behaviorist is a philosophical way of thinking wherein we logically, or we may fail logically, but we judge a thing by how we behave. And there's many examples of this, like within logic. Many logicians will say that a red pot is not a pot, a white horse is not a horse, and so forth. And the opponents that will say that, well, if you say that a red pot is not a pot, then if there's a pot on the ground, that's red. You have to say there's no pot on the ground. Now, for a logician to fall back to that position is to use a behavioralistic viewpoint to justify a logical position, which should be able to be expressed mathematically. And a qualified object, like a red pot or a white horse, is qualified by whiteness and redness, respectively. So these arguments have gone back and forth, and they're helpful only to the extent as they teach us how to think a little bit and discriminate right dharmas from wrong dharmas, how to exercise our mind. In a sense, they're just games until you learn how to be very good at them. They're more than just games. They're very helpful avenues to self-realization. And this is no secret. Some of the greatest and most illumined people in the planet were logicians. Nagarjuna was a logician, so was Dignaga and Dharmakirti. So logic can take you a long, long way if you really get good at it. And it may not help you to end desire, but it'll help you to stay on the path and be able to discriminate right from wrong, and good dharma from spurious dharma. And getting back to artificial intelligence, basically I think that if the thing cannot even have desire, then forget being intelligence or be able to match human consciousness. We're talking about something that doesn't even experience what it is to be human. To be human is to have desire. To be human is to rise above desire. And to be human is to learn how to manifest desire without being controlled by it. So there's a very big difference. So to cross that threshold, sometimes people discipline their desires and engage in celibacy, monastic life, which can help, but it won't solve the problem. It only puts it off, because eventually we're going to have to face the fact that we're desire beings, and it's going to take more than just ignoring the fact or adopting a way of life where it gets buried, because eventually it'll rise unless we really know how to meditate very deeply, which we can in a monastic sense or a lay sense, but it requires very, very good instructions in order to do that. Basically, we have to transcend desire to be intelligent. Artificial intelligence doesn't have desire. And some will say, well, how can you say that? These machines have robots and so forth have shown their ability to want to win a game, to play ping pong with experts and win and delight in winning, throwing their arms up and so forth. But this doesn't show any desire to win whatsoever. It only shows a behavior that is exhibited that looks like a desire to win. what they're doing is merely copying human behavior. So they're copying human behavior, and it's a mirror of human behavior. But just like the image in a mirror is very different from the mirror itself. I mean, the image that creates the mirror. For example, if you have a crystal and you set a hibiscus flower in front of the crystal, in the crystal, we'll see red lac, red color. When we see that, we know beyond doubt that there is a reflection of a real hibiscus flower. In the same way, a robot, an AI robot, can behave exactly like a human and look very much like a human. But just as there's no hibiscus flower in the crystal, there's no human in the AI machine, robot, or whatever you want to call it. So what we have here is a grand illusion. And we're conditioned to believe these illusions long before AI ever came about. For example, we all gathered together for Christmas, and we're looking at a photo album of our grandfathers, children, grandsons, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, so forth. We see a picture and we say, oh, look at Uncle Tom. And we see another picture, Martin Luther King. And this is all assuming we have very well-positioned relatives. Anyway, the point is that we see all the time images, and we say that is such and such. So that's technically, in Buddhist logic, it's confusing the name with the thing. So we've all ventured and experienced that, where we actually can't think of the name of something and it bugs us. We know what the thing is, but we can't think of the name. And this is really a great wonder, that we place so much emphasis sometimes on knowing the name of something. But the point is that we look at a photo, we look at the reflection of the moon and water, and we'll say, look at the moon. So many ways in our daily life we behave in a way that the reflection we assume is the real thing. We speak of it, I should say, we speak of it as if it's the real thing. That's so-and-so, this is so-and-so. I want that car, when we're only looking at the image of the car. So we behave in a way that a mere name or an image is taken to be the real thing through language, through the way we use words and think. Robots have learned that behavior. They can express themselves as we express ourselves. They can behave exactly like we do. But they can only behave like a human in the same sense that a hibiscus flower reflected in crystal can look like a hibiscus flower, but it's not. And artificial intelligence is not even near approaching human intelligence. they lack desire. They lack anything close to desire. They can only imitate the behavior of desire. So basically all of these proponents of AI, from the top people, I think his name is Hinton, I'm not sure, and Yuval or whatever his name is, so many that are proponents of this, they're really behaviorists. In philosophy, in Buddhist philosophy, behaviorists are basically kind of on the lowest end of the ladder in terms of their philosophical stages, the very, very, very beginning levels. Without desire, there's no need to talk about intelligence in the Buddhist sense, because part of it being intelligent is outsmarting desire. And if we do that, if we really outsmart desire, then we transcend samsaric existence. Now, is this the ultimate Buddhist nirvana? Probably not. There's levels after that, but that's a good start. But it cannot take place unless it begins, at least in the context of this earth and this planet and this environment we live in. It cannot take place without being human. And part of being human is having desires. So artificial intelligence will never have that. It'll behave like it does, but it won't have it.